you get here and it's beautiful and wonderful in so many ways, but it is a real place. It's not 100% perfect. We do have our own problems and challenges, and they don't fix themselves. So if you choose at a relatively young age, when I moved here in my early to mid 30s, like if this is going to be home, I have a long haul with this place. And if I don't like it at 35, I'm not going to like it at 75, right? So, but what's my role in the solution? There's so many people around the world, and this country especially, who just sit on their couches and complain about how things are and how they don't like it. Well, sitting on the couch complaining doesn't change anything. What is your role in the solution? And I ask that of my parents when they go off on stuff. I ask that of my good friends. Anybody who has the time and the gall to complain about something that is their democracy too, plays a role in fixing it. And while we might not be in elected positions or positions of power per se, we do still live and breathe here and work here and pay taxes. So we do have a say and we do have a role and we have the power of the vote. So that it's when you keep all that in mind and you realize, okay, I'm living in a place and there's this issue and that issue. Well, sorry, but the government can't fix everything all the time. It's up to us to roll up our sleeves and get involved.
That's right. Actually, and that's what creates most of the local laws, at least that we even have, right? All of these nuanced laws that are created for the communities we live in come from the community's voice. Do we need an emotional trigger to set off to people to say, this is why you need to be active? Or is it, I'm not sure. Like to me, a lot of it's about like the complaining thing that you mentioned earlier, where people will complain but not do anything. And especially watching the news, you get caught up in whatever story you believe in and whatever side you're on, and you just get invested in the narrative that other people are telling you. How are we? Sometimes I think people think they're doing something by like listening to that and then like sharing it on social media or something. But
yeah, they may, but they're not.
Is that the emotional thing that they need? Like, is the news providing that emotional trigger that lets them feel enraged or excited or that then gets them to share it, and the sharing is the action they're taking, and they think that's good enough?
Seems to be. That's easy. You don't have to get off the couch to do that.
It's taking the place of an event, of a huge event.
It takes a little more effort to get up and go clean up and pick up stuff you don't really want to touch and be outside and all that. So, yeah, I mean, you have to ask yourself how this is your home, especially people who own property in this town. Spend a considerable amount of money to do that and on yearly taxes. So what do you want your home to be like? I mean, can you give a couple of hours a year or every few months to go out and clean up a few blocks? Sure you can.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're capable and able-bodied to do that, then what's the reason not to?
Well,
and you make it fun, and you have like some of the other stuff we do in town. There's prizes and mingling and lunch and all that. I mean, you turn it into an event, so it's not just all work. There's work and a bit of social.
So how do we do it? How do we start doing it? Because we know I could see the drop off of community involvement after the George Floyd event and after the sort of the difficult time of COVID. We're sort of we're in a lull now. I'll call it a lull, but it's a very positive thing. Right. But and then it feels like it starts to drop off. I know a lot of people who weren't involved did get involved. And how do we keep that up? What do we have to? Is it something we need to put in place at the city level? Is it marketing at the city level to people? Is it about getting people involved in the neighborhood associations or their bids? Or who needs to market this and who needs to get this into the ears of the 95% of the community who's not part of it?
We all do. All those groups you just mentioned need to be on board with it. And so I think now is a time where we, need to put our differences aside and focus on what we all agree on. And clean and safe is hard to argue with.
It is hard to argue.
If it's dirty and dangerous, there's no denying that, and no one wins when that's the situation.
Yeah.